Hello and welcome everyone. On today's video we will be explaining variation. Let's start by identifying what does variation mean. The word variation means changes or differences on a language. In sociolinguistics, variation has 5 levels: pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, morphology, and dialects. We will be explaining each of them separately. Keep in mind that these levels are not arbitrary or meaningless. أي إنه الاختلافات أو الفاريشن بطريقة حكي الشخص بتخلينا نعرف هل هو من جنسية أردنية، من بلد تاني مثلا، هل هو أصلا بموقف بيتطلب رسمية أو هو مرتاح بالحكي and so on. Let's start with variation at the level of pronunciation. This level deals with how we say words. People from different regions or backgrounds might pronounce the same word differently. So, we change the sound of the same word. This point is very important that we deal with the same word. For example, we here have the word ثلج or تلج. It is the same word, but someone might pronounce it with the sound th, and other person might say تلج with t sound. We have ملعقة or معلقة, have, had. In English, we can find this level of variation with the British and American accents. For example, the word privacy is pronounced as privacy in American English, while in British English, it is pronounced as privacy. Another important note here that people who belong to the same region or the same place usually use the same pronunciation for the same words to show that they do belong with each other and to show solidarity. So in the variation at the level of pronunciation, we pronounce the same word differently. The next level is the variation at the level of grammar. This refers to how we form sentences. At this level, we can notice that two sentences have the same meaning, but each of them has different structure. So for example, at A, you are requested to submit the report by 5 p.m. and B, submit the report by 5 p.m. First of all, they both have the same meaning, but at A, the passive voice was used, which can imply politeness or a form of formality, while in B we used imperative to imply more informality. So which one is more polite? Of course, using the imperative can sound more harsh, so using a passive voice is considered more polite. Then we have variation at the level of vocabulary. In this level, we use different words for the same meaning. Here is the key difference between the variation at the level of vocabulary and the variation at the level of pronunciation. At the level of pronunciation, we use the same word, but we just pronounce them differently, while at the level of vocabulary, we already have different words, but they do have the same meaning and they do share the same concept. For example, saying تخت or سرير. We used different words for the same concept. ملابس and أواعي mean the same thing. Elevator and lift both mean مصعد, but elevator is used in American English while lift used in British English. So here the lexical variation can tell us whether the person is from the US or the UK. The next level is variation at the level of morphology. This deals with how words are formed or word formation. At this level, the differences lie in morphemes and different affixes, prefixes or suffixes within the same word. So morphology also deals with differences at the same word. So for example here, we use the prefix ma to indicate negation, while here we use the suffix sha to also indicate negation for the same word. They both are in the negative form. Here we also use different question affixes. Here we used راح to indicate that I am asking a question, like راح تروح. But here I used the ها prefix as in هتروح. They both indicate a question. The word happy is an adjective, so we use the suffix -ness to turn it into a noun. So we still have the same word, but we use different affixes to change something in that word. Finally, we have variation at the level of dialect. Variation at the level of dialects includes all levels of variation. So it refers to the overall differences in the language used by people from different regions or social groups. A dialect can involve differences in pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, and morphology. So the variation at the level of dialect is the big umbrella that includes all of these different levels of variation. So to wrap up the topic of variation, we said that the word variation means differences or changes. The variation at the level of pronunciation بنحكي نفس الكلمة بس كل حدا بيلفظها لفظ غير مثل تلج أو ثلج. Variation at the level of grammar الإشي المختلف بيكون هو sentence structure. مثلا الكل لازم يكون على الموعد أو كون على الموعد. الأولى general، الثانية أنا خصصت فيها حدا. الإشي اللي اختلف بين الجملتين هو grammatical structure. Then we have variation at the level of vocabulary. Here we say different words but they have the same meaning. كلمات مختلفة بس كلهم إلهم نفس المعنى، زي لما أحكي قطة أو بسة أو هرة، الثلاث كلمات نفس الكونسبت نفس المعنى. Then we have the variation at the level of morphology. هون الاختلاف بيكون بالaffixes أو بالmorphemes، خصوصاً بaffixes السؤال أو النفي أو حتى derivational affixes مثل هون happiness و happy. Lastly, the variation at the level of dialect. الاختلاف لما يكون بالdialect بيكون بالgrammar والvocabulary pronunciation والmorphology، بضم هدول الأربع أنواع من variation. That's it for today's video. Thank you for watching.